Good evening. This is CTV News for Tuesday, May 29th. I'm Sonia Srivastava.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger. Glad to have you with us on this hot and muggy evening. While his co-defendant pleaded guilty to a fatal home invasion in Bowie, John Haston's trial in the same case gets underway today. The 46-year-old is accused of posing as a Pepco employee along with Craig Brooks to get into the victim's home last year. Denise Douglas has the details from outside the courthouse in Upper Marlboro.
It's interesting that in opening arguments, the defense tried to cast out the 46-year-old John Haston was even in the house where David Williams was killed. He and 50-year-old Craig Brooks are accused of posing as Pepco workers to get into the home in the upscale Bowie community to rob Williams last year. Williams' fiancée, Sakana Majors, was the first one up on the witness stand, describing how she had dropped him off and went to make a deposit from his businesses in the bank, only to return home and see Brooks and Haston leaving their home. Inside, Majors found Williams shot to death. Majors said Brooks had been to their home the day before, claiming to be a Pepco supervisor and would be returning to fix wiring. Brooks has since pled guilty in this case. Haston, however, has chosen to go to trial. His attorney says, though, that Majors didn't get a really good look at his client and can't clearly identify that he was in the house, clearly trying to raise questions and hoping that the jury will buy it. Now, the state has several more witnesses that it will put on the stand. After that, the defense will take its turn. This entire case is expected to wrap up by Friday. I'm Denise Douglas, CTV News.
50-year-old Craig Brooks pleaded guilty to a similar home invasion case in Anne Arundel County in April. He was sentenced to 25 years without parole. A Prince George's County mother says she is looking for ways to honor her daughter's memory now that the defendant in the case has been convicted. Last week, Christy Littleford was found guilty of hit and run and other charges that contributed to the death of Natasha Pettigrew. Pettigrew's mother says she is pleased with the verdict, but acknowledges that there are no winners in this case. The 30-year-old woman, a third-year law student, was struck by a truck driven by Littleford 2 years ago as she was riding her bike near Prince George's Community College. Now her mother says she is considering starting a support group or finding another way to help families facing similar tragedies.
Maybe it's necessary to perhaps come up with a way to ensure that when things happen, that there is a support network out there for people, so that if they're not capable of doing things for themselves, that there is a network out there to help them, because there are things that happen along the way for me, and I thought, were I not a strong person, I'd just give up and crawl, just go back to bed and get in a fetal position and never leave.
Christy Littleford is scheduled to be sentenced in August.
Well, if you stepped out today, you know it was hot out there. As the temperatures rise, so does your chance of getting a heat-related illness. Earlier, I spoke with Prince George's Fire EMS spokesman Mark Brady about things we can do to keep ourselves protected. Here's the story.
The official start of summer is less than a month away, but don't tell 4-year-old Christiana that. She's ready to go.
I got a little baby pool that you have to blow up.
There was a heat advisory in effect yesterday, and temperatures today hit close to 90 degrees.
This time of year, people are outdoors playing sports, and they really underestimate the need to hydrate themselves. So what happens is, all of a sudden, they're out running around doing different activities, and then all of a sudden they have an onset of, dizziness or weakness.
Fire spokesman Mark Brady says the signs of heat-related stress often get ignored.
Heat stroke can become a factor if you're overexerting yourself, you're not rehydrating yourself, and you continue to push yourself, and you're going to hit that heat stroke level, which you're going to suffer the same symptoms as heat exhaustion. They're going to get worse, and eventually to the point where you will stop sweating. Once you stop sweating, you reach that point of it's a life or death situation. And if you do not get to a medical facility in a very short period of time, it could be a life or death situation.
Drinking water and staying hydrated is the best way to go. Firefighters at the Glendale station are already taking precautions. They have switched from wearing 2 layers to just this, a simple cotton t-shirt. What do you think even just having that 1 layer off, how do you think that helps?
The cooling effect is wonders, especially when we have to have our gear on. It's so thick and so heavy. Just when you put it on, instantly you start to feel the heat coming from it.
Now, majority of the fire trucks in the county do carry a cooler like this on their trucks all year round. Now, this contains water bottles and other drinks. This pool in Bowie was pretty empty this afternoon, but it won't be long before it's filled up. Brady says children and the elderly always need extra attention.
Most of the deaths last year with our senior citizens, they were located inside of a room. And the room had air conditioning, however, there may be financial concerns or whatever, but they did not have their air conditioning on. They became overheated. They were by themselves. So it's a good time to also check on your senior citizens, family, friends, and neighbors to make sure they're doing okay. If they need a break.
And firefighters I talked to today told me that during the summer months, they are expected to drink 8 ounces of water per hour in order to properly stay hydrated.
A Metro employee is seriously injured after being struck and pinned under a Metro train. The incident happened around 1:15 this afternoon at the Shady Grove Rail Yard in Gaithersburg. The employee, who is a 25-year veteran of the transit agency, was in an area where Metro trains are washed when he was struck. He was pinned under the train for more than an hour until medical personnel could free him. Metro officials say he was conscious and alert when he was flown to a nearby trauma center. The agency says it's conducting a safety stand down at the Shady Grove Yard. Employees are being offered counseling and safety practices are under review. The NTSB and the Tri-State Oversight Committee have been notified. No passengers were on the train at the time, and Red Line service has not been affected. Well, a man is dead tonight after being found alone and unconscious on a street in Bladensburg. Police say the man was found by a passerby around 11 o'clock Monday evening in the 5600 block of Annapolis Road. He was later transported to a local hospital and pronounced dead. Officials say the man appears to have suffered some sort of trauma. The victim's identity has not been released. The body has been taken to a medical examiner's office for further investigation.
A growing number of local governments are already doing it, and Prince George's could be next. All 9 members of the county council are supporting a bill that will require a registry to help police monitor gun offenders. Police tell the Washington Post they support the initiative because far too many people are carrying a firearm illegally and think it's a rite of passage, and getting caught is a minor inconvenience. A vote is expected on the issue in early June. You are watching CTV News. I'm Sonia Srivastava.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger.